we read of an account, a story in the Old Testament where there's a great siege over a city in Samaria, I believe, and Elisha was the prophet then. In fact, it was such a bad siege, there was famine for quite a while. Well, the siege was quite a while anyway, and there was absolute desperation for food, like, even the offcuts of food that we wouldn't touch, people were paying big money for just to stay alive. And that's how bad it was. And it got so bad, eventually, I'm not going through the whole story, but the Elisha says that this time tomorrow, there'll be abundance of food, and things will be cheap, and the siege will end. And then there's this guy who was the king's sort of aide, who went with him everywhere, sort of almost mocked God, I think, and said, even if the Lord could open up the windows of heaven, could this be so? And of course Elisha says, well, yes, it will be so. You'll see it with your eyes, but you won't actually eat it. And he actually did get trodden down in the gateway with a rush of people to get food and all the spoils that were left behind by the invading army. But what I wanted to get to you is, in our lives sometimes we get to some points where a situation seems absolutely, totally impossible, or we get to a point where something in our lives is what we call that siege experience. The siege experience where there is famine, where there is absolute poverty, desperation, and it seems utterly impossible that within 24 hours that whole situation could be changed around. Yet with God all things are possible. And maybe right now you're going through a time where you're in that siege experience, famine, poverty, desperation, and humanly speaking, impossibility that in the short time things could be completely turned around. But God wants you to trust in him that he is able to do that, even though your situation is so bad. In fact, we'll go one step further than that. God would like you to even have confidence that he will do that. That kind of faith can only come from him. It's something that gets given to us by the Holy Spirit. And we cannot achieve faith to believe such things on our own. But either way, even just to believe that God is able to turn that around is honouring to him. So I want to encourage you, if your situation is like that, it's desperate, utterly desperate, impossible, take hope in God, who is able to do anything, who is fully in control of your life and knows everything that's going to happen in the future, and has a wonderful plan for your life, allowing things that we consider desperation and negative things to turn them into real blessings. So be encouraged, take hope in God, like King David did when he was desperate and something happened and all his soldiers were talking about stoning him. He encouraged himself in the Lord, and as he did that, he devised a plan, and with God's strength he defeated the enemy. So be encouraged, encourage yourself in the Lord. He is with you.